I was really strict on myself and I did have a routine. Like after I would get off work, if I wasn't on a networking call with someone after, I would just like literally I didn't even take a break because I was like, if I take a break, it's game over.
So, for people that aren't familiar with you, the Ulta Points girl, as you're known for Instagram, if you just want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Diana. A lot of people do know me for my Ulta points, but I sell on Amazon part time. So I work my 9 to 5, and I live in the Pacific Northwest. So I like it here, and that's pretty much a short description about me.
Awesome. When did you start Amazon?
I started probably I would say May of 2021, but honestly, I always tell people it was kind of hard because I was in grad school when I started this. So
Yeah.
I just started the main the engaging part and scanning in stores just to see how it could potentially work. So I would say probably around almost 2 years.
So, in the beginning, in 2021, or somewhere in there, you were just trying out Amazon, or did you see like an ad for it or a course? How did you really get into it?
So I saw it on TikTok, but
TikTok.
yeah, and I wanted to try it out because it looks so easy. And
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to try it, but I was in grad school and I was working part time, so it's kind of hard to really go all in
Yeah.
finding that time. So yeah, I think it was just hard once when I was in school to start.
Yeah, because school was your priority, and were you doing this like on the weekend or just whenever you had time?
Yeah, I was doing it on the weekend. Mostly I would scan and sometimes I would go after class if I didn't have to work.
Yeah.
It really started with retail arbitrage, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were doing retail arbitrage. Where was this transition where you're like, all right, makeup, that's my thing, So, or were you kind of like familiar with makeups already? You know what I mean?
So I am familiar with makeup, but in the beauty, when I was I'm gonna go all in, was probably honestly not until this last August.
Okay.
And I realized I was actually good at this. But I
Yeah.
was started out in a whole bunch of different categories, like toys, health and household, groceries, um, and a little bit of beauty, but not too much. So I was all over the place.
Okay. Then eventually, when you started sourcing a little bit more beauty, then you stumbled upon it's like, all right, was Ulta the first spot that you went to, or I mean, there's Sephora, right? There's other places out there as well.
um, I think Ulta is where I started, but now that I'm doing I know about a lot of these brands, just in general, I do go to their websites because a lot of times they have better deals than Ulta. Sephora
Okay.
is really good too. It's something new I've been doing, and I'm actually really good at it.
Good.
um,
Yeah.
Back then, I wasn't it was so hard to find something on Sephora, but now I'm find so much things I don't even have enough to spend all my money on Sephora. But yeah, it's I think I started in I would say Ulta and then branched off into different their
Different things.
brands. Hmm.
Yeah. So when you started starting finding this makeup and stuff, what was the thing that kept you going regarding, what was I guess your incentive? Was it just the points itself, the little test thing they send you, the samples?
That's a good question. I feel like it was both of them, to be honest, because, before I started Amazon, I was like, oh, I want to do influencing and beauty. I just always had that idea since I was younger. And
Okay.
so when I started sourcing on the beauty brands, I have literally four full boxes of free stuff.
Oh
And
geez.
so I feel like an influencer at times because I have so
Yeah.
much stuff. And so that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't use all of it, which I'm planning to do something with it. But I think it just kind of gets me going. And then the points too. I mean, right now at Ulta, I have over like what $2,000 that I could redeem, but that's
Wow.
like my main account. I
Yeah.
had like another account to avoid like being because I was like getting limited on my orders, and so I made another account. So I use my other account to redeem it, but I don't know why I have $2,000 saved up for my main account, but I am gonna use it eventually because I think I'm like capped in a way, but not really because I think when I go in person at the registers, they get like a message recently because I've reached like over 30,000, and I think that's a sign. Like I don't know, this girl was really confused like last week why she got this.
Yeah.
And it never happened until I reached over 30,000, so probably like I don't know what goes on behind there, but yeah, I think it's both to be honest. And I really like it, the category. Like I do good well in it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, which is good. That's your advantage in terms of sourcing retail arbitrage or even online arbitrage. You're gonna have an eye for it, not just the skill itself, but efficiency, the time it takes for you to find items.
Yeah, I think so.
In terms of these points, do you plan on like using this for the business back or more like personal, usage, just like a reward extra?
You know what? I think it might be the business because like so my second account has like had a well amount and I actually used like $125 and I found it so hard to use that because I'm like I have a lot of this stuff for free. Like what
Yeah.
am I gonna get? And so now I was thinking I'm like I can't imagine like if I were to spend $2,000 on myself here, like I'm probably most likely gonna use it for like business because and I think it's easier for me to use them in person, which but at the same time, like I can't go in and buy like $1,000 of inventory. They're gonna be like they're gonna know something's up to no good.
You think so? You think so? Or is it all in your head?
It might be in my head. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just like that, so I feel like I don't know if I should buy like $1,000 of inventory. So I probably do it online in segments, but online, like I was looking last night, and I think I can only redeem up to like $200 at a time. Um, so I mean, it's always good to have, and especially when things are on sale. Like that's when I will use a little bit of my points, and I have used them on my main account, but like in
Okay.
segments of $100 or so. Nothing too crazy like the whole 2K or 1,000 when I did was at that point.
Yeah, that's kind of like the blessing in disguise in terms of like online arbitrage because they limit your order. So, for example, if there's a product that like does well based on your analysis, then by the time you ship it out, a bunch of sellers hop in. So that's kind of like where the limit comes in. But on the other hand, if you find a really good product, you want to keep buying it and replenish it. So, it's a double-edged sword, which is the good and bad things we talked about. Now, talking to points, right? We talked about Ulta. Another thing that you like to do, I saw regarding your page and store, is Delta points. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how'd you get into that regarding free travel and utilizing it based on your Amazon spends?
Yeah, that's really good topic because not a lot of people know about like the free like travel hacks and there's a lot of good credit cards out there and
There
I
is,
do
yeah.
have like I've been able to diversify like my credit cards especially in business, the business credit cards, but so I think the best thing to do when you're going into like traveling for free and building status with these airlines is to choose one airline that you could that you use or that you like. I mean, Delta, they have a big hub here. I live in the Seattle area, so they have a big, they have just
Really?
it's
It's
huge.
Alaska Airlines.
Alaska Airlines is big too, but I don't really like their card options, to be honest. So I chose Delta, and it's really
Okay.
cool because I have pretty all of theirs for the business. I have like their three that they offer, but one of them is the highest tier one, the one with the 550, the reserve. And so that one's pretty cool because when you spend up to 30,000, you get these things that are called MQMs. So you get $15,000 MQMs, and those help you build status. And the cool thing about Amazon is that you're always spending on inventory. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
could use my checkings business account. That doesn't really do me any good. Like if I know I could spend, let's say, like 25K a month and know that I'm going to be able to pay it back on a credit card, I'm going to do it because that's just going to benefit me. I'm going to get like at least 25,000 miles that month or more, depending on the card that I use. And then I'm also going to help build status. And that's how, like I do have status with Delta. I'm like the gold medallion, but I think by the end of the year, I could probably reach their highest tier just because I'm, growing this business and I'm doing better. And so I think like,
Yeah.
get those advantages. And I haven't paid for a single flight for like the past year, and I'm always going somewhere. So it's really cool to have that. And also, like I said, diversify them. But, with the cashback card and then the travel, like a travel one. And if you don't travel, then that's on you. But like I do. So, it's pretty cool having that advantage, like being able to, buy inventory on these cards. And then also like I'm gonna get rewarded with
Rewarded.
miles at the end of my statement. And then I'm also gonna build status. And so I always tell people to like choose one airline that they travel with because like United has business credit cards with Chase and same with Southwest and Delta. And so I would say like just stick to one to be able to like use the most out of your points, or you can diversify, but that's just my opinion. And like I said, Delta has a big hub here in Seattle, I would say.
That's good. Yeah, it's a great way to take advantage of it because, like, I used to travel a lot, and these status makes a difference. Like, you can get like a free bag, which normally, if they charge you, it can range from $50 to $100, depending what airline. Also like getting in line a lot earlier than everyone and getting to leave before everyone. So these
Yeah.
little things when you're traveling really helps a lot in terms of not just like domestic flight, but even overseas, which is a long haul flight in general. Any travel plans for you coming up this year that you're really excited about?
Not really, because I do a lot of traveling last minute. Like I'm going to New York this weekend, and it's just like little things like that. So, um, I'll I'll use my points. The thing is, like, it's always cheaper too to buy with points and cash. And I don't know if people realize this, but um, it's always better to buy with your points. And Delta announced this new thing beginning this month where you get a 15% discount if you pay with your miles. So you're getting a better deal than people that pay out of pocket. And so, I wasn't really traveling a lot before this Amazon business. I mean, I was before COVID and then I stopped. But then once I started getting rewarded with like these things from Amazon, like,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to use these, I'm going to go here and, where. And Amex also has really good point system too, like when you convert them and you have like Amex business cards. So I really like that too for like, not the flight part, but like the staying. So yeah.
So you use your Amex in terms of like staying in a hotel instead of transferring it to Delta because you already have the Delta card.
Yeah, I already have the Delta miles. I have plenty of those. And so the Amex Platinum, which I do have, which is another good traveling card,
Yeah.
that's what I use for like any stains. And so I was just convert them into like their partners, their partners that they um, have on their website, and I transfer them to get the most out of my points. But I don't really use it on the Amex travel uh, website. But that's what I do.
Okay. And in terms of like, credit card in general, did you had this knowledge come like were you interested in travel hacking before, or did you had, a website that you can recommend to people that can learn more about it, fully take advantage of, mileage points that they get back?
I knew about the miles thing because I had like one card, but I think when I started Amazon and then I was able to get my first business card, I was like, you know what, I can get like all of these if I want, and I could really use them to my advantage because that's a cool thing about this Amazon, like I said before, you're always buying inventory. So if I could be smart and, get free travel or even cash back or something out of it, I'm going to do it. Um, and no, I don't think I was ever interested in travel hacking. I didn't learn about travel hacking until I was already doing it. I'm like, wow, I've been doing this all along.
Yeah.
A couple of months, but yeah, I don't think it was ever like huge on me. Like I was traveling a lot before COVID, but I wasn't like so into it. But now that I'm like doing it, I actually enjoy it.
Good. Yeah. So one more question in terms of travel, then we can dig a little bit deep in terms of your Amazon business. How many credit cards in total do you have?
Like business and my personal or just my
Yeah,
business.
everything combined.
Oh my gosh.
Let me start. Let me start with mine. I think I got like 21 or 22 total.
Okay, well you have more than me, so you outbeat me on that one. I I don't have a exact number, but if I were to estimate, I'd say I have at least 10.
Okay.
I just got a new business card, and this is like off the Amex, but I do have the Chase Preferred, Sapphire Preferred. But I got the Chase Ink Unlimited, so that's one's cash back. So now I'm just thinking like how to use this wisely. Like, okay, so now I travel for free with Delta with my Delta card. Now I'm going to start using like my Chase card, and I'm going to use that for cash back, so I can pay like a bill or something. Like be smart in a way. So like I'm going to use
Yeah.
this card for, um, once I hit I don't know 20K on the Delta one, I'm going to start using the Chase one, which I can now that I'm doing better. Like spending is not a problem. I think at first found it really hard to like spend that much money, but now I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's sales and stuff I can buy all the time.
When you first started on Amazon, did you set yourself like a budget, or did you had some money set aside in order to just put in the business?
Yeah, I when I first started, I was able to build like um, my capital very slowly, but I started with $3,000 that I had saved up. I didn't
Okay.
use a credit card. I found it risky because I'm like, if I don't pay it back, like I don't want to get charged interest with my personal. At least like if I spend 3K, like I work like I have it. But I did have a business account, like just a checkings account, but I didn't have any credit cards. It took me like 6 months to first get a credit card for business at least.
Did you spend that 3K off the bat, or you kind of broke it up? Because I remember when I first started, even though I think I had said about four to 5K, as I was going to do Amazon, I was still scared, intimidated to spend it all. So I was, I think, doing like 300 to 500 and just testing out the water before fully committing. Were you in that same situation?
So I had that 3K, and I think the first month I spent like 2,500, almost all of it. And I was like, okay, this stuff better sell because, you know, I was in grad school. I was like, I worked really hard for this money.
Yeah.
I hope this works. That's how I felt.
Were you
Like,
thinking like worst case scenario, if it wasn't going to work out, you'd be okay with it? Is that why you picked 3K?
yeah, I was like, worst case scenario, like I worked for this money for this purpose. Like if it doesn't sell, then it's okay, but I wasn't trying to think like that. I was like, I hope this works because if not, um, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this Amazon thing. It might be a scam. That's what I thought until I saw my first sale. I was like, never mind.
Do you remember what it was? Your first sale?
Yeah, it was a notebook. Or
Okay.
no, it was a chapstick that I got for like $2 and I sold it for $10. So
Wow.
it was like a $3 profit, but I was like, hey, this is actually legit.
That was the beginning of it.
Yeah, and it was before I started using any softwares, and I learned the hard way to like invest in my business. So by getting like Keepa and Seller Amp, those are the main two I use because if you don't know what's going on behind, it's gonna hurt you in a way. You just randomly spend on like stuff like I would do for a long time. So I had to learn the hard way with things not selling.
So how were you doing in the beginning when you first started? Did you just had the Amazon app, scan it, then did not know anything about like ranking and stuff like that as long as it was profitable?
I did know about the ranking. I had
Okay,
a list of like the rankings like I wanted to stay under. So
like a
I
cheat sheet.
yeah, like a cheat sheet. Yeah, like when I would pull it up like a photo that had say it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
my beauty stay under like 120,000. It's gonna sell. So I would do that. But like now, like the seller amp and like Keepa, like if I see someone has like 200 in stock and only sells like 100 times a month, I'm not gonna go in. Um, and sometimes things happen. People price sync it. Even though the chart looked good,
yeah.
more people hop on. I have that currently, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm just need to move on to a new thing. Um, but yeah, I think I was just doing that, and I lost like a lot of money,
In the
and a lot.
beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning, I would say, and it took me a good, probably a couple months, almost a year, to like learn how to use these softwares and um, how to like product research. So it takes a long time, to be honest, especially in the beauty category. It is hard when there's a lot of variations.
So the variation you think would be an advantage to you now versus where you were seeing it beforehand, where you didn't really understand it.
Um, yeah, in a way, I still like doing things that aren't in variation for some reason. But like in the beauty category at least. But yes, I would say, at first when you scan it and there's like a whole bunch that pop up, it's just confusing. You're like, what
Yeah.
color or what size, depending on what do I get, what pack, 2 pack, 3 pack, 6 pack. But it's really hard when you just use a scanning app sometimes, like
When you're in person, especially.
yeah, and sometimes like if I do RA, like I just have to like I do have a Keepa app and I look at it very little, but I can't really see a lot of things I would see like on my computer. But
Agreed.
sometimes I would do the research beforehand and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get this and store because it's not online or I want to test it out. I was on a podcast earlier this year and I was talking about how like to be safe for myself, I tested out using FBM, and not a lot of people like FBM, but I will buy 5 in person and I'll test it out FBM. And if it sells and it does well, like for at least a week, I will go a little bit harder and I'll do them FBA. But that's what I do.
So it sounds like test order is part of your systems regarding, purchasing newer items. Something telling me that you've been burned before we didn't test order and order deep.
Yeah, so I have been, and it's just a part of learning. And so, I found a system that works for me. I think for me, it's that test buy, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do 5 to 10 units max and see how these do. And usually they do really well. And because I'm also looking at like the Keepa chart, and there have been purchases that lately I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go all in, and like
Yeah.
high five. I'm like, what did I just do? Like, this wasn't smart. I didn't really look at this. But I do that very little. Like, I did it like recently in like January, and I don't know how that product is doing. I'm just gonna have to find a
Yeah.
different listing. But I'm starting to be a little wiser in my purchase decisions. But yeah.
Which is good. I mean, you have to unfortunately learn some of these things, and I think like first first time sellers, or I would say newer sellers, as you mentioned, half the year or even the first year, it's you spend a lot of that time learning, building that foundation before you can really start to scale. Which is, in my opinion, if you're in that situation, buying wide and not deep, and because you want to get as many lines in the water, if you want to put in like an fishing analogy, to manage that risk, and you want to make sure, worst case scenario, how much money am I going to lose versus the up risk where you can just, set the maximum and stuff like that, which is good. Then if you find a product that sells, obviously you can replenish it, maybe you can go deep a little bit, but at least try it out, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think I would say I'm like not a beginner, but not like a pro seller. So for
Yeah,
me,
we're all learning.
yeah, we're all learning. What I like really want to like be assured of is like it's not going to just set the warehouse, especially with like the fees that are getting like the
Erased
price
it.
high. Yeah, they raised it and it sucks. So I don't want inventory to sit there longer than like honestly after it gets checked in like a month. Um, and I think, to be able to also maintain that cash flow, I think that was really hard for me, the cash flow part, because I'm like, you know what? I'm just paying off these cards and I'm not seeing anything. But what helped me was in the fall doing FBM that helped me with my cash flow a little bit. And now that I've built that and I know how it's working, I feel like I could, like, I'm sending most of my stuff now FBA. But at first it was all FBA, like literally. And then I was like, I need to do something about it. And I heard about FBM and I was like, I don't like this part, like where I'm fulfilling orders most of the time.
Yeah.
And now that I'm doing it more, I was doing it a lot in Q4, the customer service part. I don't really like that part. So now I'm like doing it, like sending most of my stuff FBA. Once I do the test buys here, um, FBM, I will go a little bit harder and do them FBA.
Okay.
Because and it's been working, honestly. I've seen it, I think Q4 I was so busy that I didn't wasn't doing that, but I was doing just a lot of FBM. But now that I have time to get these out and to get these out in a shipment, I will do it. But right now I'd say I do about 50-50, but I'm slowly moving away from that.
Like towards FBA.
Yeah.
Yeah. The $1 million question I want to ask, you still have a 9 to 5. How were you able to kind of balance this back in Q4, which is the busiest time of year? Did you had a routine? Were you very strict with yourself? Like, want to walk us through how is that going for you?
It was really, I was really strict on myself and I did have a routine. Like after I would get off work, if I wasn't on a networking call with someone after, I would just like literally, I didn't even take really a break because I was like, if I take a break, it's game over. Like, I'm already a little exhausted. I would just go out because I was doing a lot of RA on holiday stuff. And so I
Okay.
would go out and just pick up things and for like 2 hours, I would come back, fulfill all orders I had. So I was on a strict routine every single day. And I think that really helped me because if I wasn't strict on myself, I probably wouldn't like been able to get, you know, my highest month in December because I think it's just consistency. Honestly, I'm still really kind of strict about it. But, I think being consistent at first has helped me get better in sourcing. So I don't have trouble finding products that much anymore. It's really like, you know, like I said, being consistent and doing it every day, like every single day, like after my 9 to 5, like I work on Amazon for at least an hour or two. Really, there's never a day where I don't work on it right now, especially since
Including
I do
weekends.
so yeah, weekends I work on it a little bit more. But I think it's not hard balancing it once you already have like a routine set in place. Like I didn't really have a routine before. I would source like once a week. And then I'm just like, why am I not getting any sales? And then once I started doing it like almost every single day or found really good products and I was just replenishing, I'm like, okay, I'm getting enough like the flow of this. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's just building that routine. It's really hard and you like really have to push yourself. And I'm still like, you know, do the same things I was doing in Q4, like
Yeah. You want to build great habits.
yeah, it's building those
Yeah.
habits are so important because, it's hard with your 9 to 5 already and then just working all day and then having to do this. Like you have to build that discipline and that,
Yeah.
you know,
You gotta want it.
yeah, you gotta want it. You gotta want it
Yeah.
really bad because if you don't just want it a little bit, you're not gonna put in the work every day, and that's when you're not gonna see the sales, and you're gonna be like, oh, this is a scam. Because I know I was thinking of that, but I think it's just something that you have to do all the time. But yeah,
Do you work at home or do you still have to commute?
I do work from home, so I get that advantage of working from home. So
A bit of
sometimes
sourcing on the side.
I'll take a break and I'll go drop off stuff at UPS, the post
I was
office. So
doing
that
that.
helps, you
I was doing that same thing. Yeah, because I had a full time job.
know. I
Yeah,
get a restock notification and I'm working. I'll buy some inventory. But yeah, it makes it a little easier for sure.
yeah, that's good. Because again, if you're stuck in traffic, I can only imagine with Seattle. Like rush hour, it can definitely hold you back.
Yep, it can.
All right, I got one more question before you we end this podcast. What is one advice you would give yourself a year ago, knowing what you know now?
This is a very good one. One piece of advice I would say um was is I would say is to network with others. I
Why?
think that's really helped me because if I like I didn't really make my Instagram account until like 7 months of selling pretty much. And that's when I was the most lost and I wasn't really seeing as much and it was so hard. But as I started just building my Instagram and, connecting with others and, hopping on calls, like I learn from them and they learn from me. And so, we kind of both give ourselves like good information. And so that's really helped me. And like, I think that's what has helped me the most, to be honest, because I've learned a lot about how to like product research and, like all this stuff that I needed to know at first to kind of get that going and build it. But I didn't do that. So that's why it's been taking me a while to like grow in this business because I was in networking and I was just not using softwares. I was just doing a lot of random stuff. But now that I learn a lot from others for sure, and everyone knows something different. And
Yep.
whenever I talk to them, and it helps me, and I help them, so I think network as much as you can when you first start because that really does help compared to you wanting to do everything like yourself because you can only learn from so much from the free stuff that you see. Um, but that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, it's a excellent advice. Especially, we're all majority of us are all online. It's you're just one message away from connected with the another seller. Actually, I lied. I have one more question. Any
Uh,
plans of going full time on Amazon, or you just want to keep this for a little bit for a few years, then take it from there?
I get this question a lot. It's like, do I ever
Yeah.
plan on leaving? And it's so hard because, like, there's the times I'm like, you know what, I just want to go all in. I'm going to go full time. But I think there's still a lot, like, not a lot of learning, but a little bit more that I could learn to be able to, like,
Hmm.
build that confidence to just, like, walk away from, like, my 9 to 5. I mean, like, it sucks because, like, I went to school for 6 years, like college, like I got my master's, and the fact that it was so specific, and I am working in my field, but to just kind of put that away, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what have I done? Like, I spent so much time in school and money, and so it's hard to think of that. But at the same time, like, now that I work in this corporate world, I don't know if I want to do this for the next like 40 years of my life.
yeah.
I like working on my own schedule, to be honest. And so in the next year, I'm not sure. I think you guys just have to stay tuned, to be honest, because I could change my mind any minute. Like, I could get really fed up at my 9 to 5 one day and be like, I'm screw it. I built this
Peace.
business. I'm quitting. I'm living like my on my own schedule, on my own terms because I built this business. And I think that's the thing. It's like having the 9 to 5 and just building your business is
Hmm.
like key because like once you build it enough, you can have the confidence to just leave whenever you want to and whenever like you get fed up and just call it good. But yeah, I think you guys just have to stay tuned because I'm not sure in the next year. I could change my mind like any minute. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. If people want to follow you, if you do want to put content down the road, where can everyone reach out to you?
I think on Instagram, I have gotten that. When am I going to make content? And I do have ideas and I am planning. I still have my 9 to 5, so it's kind of hard, but I think it's something people really look for me, especially, in the categories we just talked in. That's what people really reach out to me for, want to
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I definitely say Instagram. I am on Twitter, but I hardly get on, but I'm on there. The same
Okay.
Ecom Diana. That's
Ecom
where you.
Diana and Instagram.
Yeah, and my Twitter's the same.
Okay, awesome. And Diana, thank you again so much for taking the time. And thank you guys for tuning in. Any question, again, reach out to Diana. Feel free to message on the bottom as well. And see you guys later.